Let's bow in. And welcome everyone to the Buddhist Path of Awakening course. Hold on a second. Got to see if I can get this recording working properly. Okay. So welcome. Tonight we are working our way through the next section of Patrul Rinpoche's The Words of My Perfect Teacher. What I'm finding after all this time is a truly remarkable text. Tonight, mainly, we're dealing with the realms. With the lowest realms. There are 6 main realms in the world of desire. And then there's the world of form, and then the world of pure form, which I'm going to go through a little bit, just so we get the lay of the land. The realms that we're dealing with tonight are the lower realms, which are the worst realms. Hell realm, hungry ghost realm, and animal realm. This is often where people get stopped. I know John Tyler said he did, I did too. It begins to feel like a Christian catechism, but it's not at all. These realms are portraits of ways of being. They are physical, mental, and emotional. The realms are, the ones that we're going to be dealing with tonight are the hell realms, which are full of incredible suffering. Above that, with some relief, slight, the realm of the hungry ghosts. These are beings that are tormented by hunger, feeling that they are lacking something. And above that are the animal realms. Above those, which we're going to deal with next week, are the human realm, which is the one that you want to be born in, and we are. And above that is the realm of the jealous gods who want to be gods, and above that is the God realm. These are the 6 realms of what are called the Kama Dhatu. Kama means desire, and Dhatu means sphere or area, space. There are 3 Dhatus, which comprise confusion, samsara, suffering. The lowest of these is the Kama Dhatu, which is where we live as human beings, inhabiting one of the 6 realms of the Kama Dhatu, the human realm. Above the Kama Dhatu are 2 more Dhatus, the realm of pure form and the realm of formlessness. These 2 are purely mental states. You access these through meditation practices, actually through concentration practices. You concentrate your mind on an object. They are still within samsara. They are not enlightened. And so they are regarded variously in the Buddhist world. There are some Buddhists who practice these 2 higher realms, the form realm and the formless realm. But Mostly in the Tibetan tradition, they're not practiced and they're warned against. In fact, they're very pleasurable, these realms of concentration. The form realm consists of meditating on pure form, formlessness, consciousness, and I forget which. There are 17 actually main meditations. And they are forms of concentration, they're forms of trance. One focuses one's mind on one pointedly on an object. And it takes tremendous work to get to any of these states. And when you do, they're very pleasurable, which is why they're called God realms. The realms of the formless gods, there are 4 of those, which are above the realms of pure form. And these are meditations on pure abstraction, meditation on consciousness, concentrating one's mind on pure consciousness, or space, meditating on space, or meditating on formlessness. These are abstractions. In the tradition that we come from, these are not practiced, although in other Buddhist traditions they are. And the reason they're not practiced is they're regarded as cul-de-sacs, seductive, because so pleasurable, and that you can get stuck in them for a long time, maybe even your whole life. And there are stories about great teachers, like Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, whom some of us knew, probably the greatest living teacher of his time, and a teacher of Trungpa Rinpoche, who was our teacher, who came and visited here, both during Trungpa Rinpoche's lifetime and after Trungpa Rinpoche died. And there's stories about Dilgo Khyentse going and finding yogis who had gotten stuck in these realms of pure concentration, the pure realm of pure form and then the formless realm, both of which are above the realm of desire, and of finding them in their bodies. The standard line is that the yogi's body would wither away because he or she was so stuck in this concentration state that the body just withered away, till all that was left they say in the descriptions of this, till all that's left is a palpitating heart. And it's the job of a person like Dilgo Khyentse, the great teacher, to wake that person up, to tell them, you've gotten stuck in a concentration state. They're called the dhyanas. You've gotten stuck in one, or the jhanas in the Pali. Time to wake up and move on. Get on with your trip. The problem with it is that you can get stuck in these for a very long time and ages. And then finally, like anything else that is created, they wear out. And when they wear out, you wake up from this concentration state and find that you're still an unenlightened being. And your anguish or anger can be so great that you're plunged into the lower realms, the hell realms. So they're regarded as a waste of time by our particular Buddhist sects. More than a waste of time, a danger. But to give you the full picture of samsara, we have these 3 dhatus. The kama dhatu, the realm of desire, which includes the 6 realms, the hell realm, the hungry ghost realm, the animal realm, I'm moving up, the human realm, the realm of the jealous gods, and then the God realm. And then above that, the realm of the pure gods of form, and above that, the realm of the godless, of the formless gods. So this is the complete picture of samsara, Korwa, it's called in Tibetan, samsara in Sanskrit, and it means a circle. And the reason it's a circle is because the beings who are living in Korwa, in samsara, go round and around through the realms, circular. They travel from one realm to the next. They keep changing. One time they're in the God realm, the next time they might be plunged into the hell realm. Who knows? And it's all suffering and confusion in varying degrees. The God realms within the Kama Dhatu, the lower of the three dhatus, remember there's the formless realm of the formless gods, the form gods, and then the realm of desire, which has at its top the God realm, but not of form and formless. These are actual beings, you might say, more than just mental states. And so you might have met someone in your lifetime, or more than one person, who inhabited the God realms. And that person would be very happy. Everything they say of a God, everything that they see is beautiful, everything they smell is perfume, everything they taste is ambrosia. And they make love with a glance. They don't have to do the messy process of having sex the way human beings do. They can just make love with a glance. And they're very happy. And they live there for a very long period of time. But we're not going to do the gods tonight. We're going to be talking about them next week. Tonight we're going to be talking about the three lower realms. Now, another way to understand these realms, the hell realm, the hungry ghost realm, the human realm, the animal realm, all of them, there are three ways to understand them. One is that we are born into a realm. So you and I, with our human bodies, inhabit the human realm. And your pets, your dogs, your cats, your fish, your birds, inhabit the animal realm, as well as all the animals that are wild outside one's house, if you have wild animals. So, and then there are the ones that inhabit the other realms, but we can't see them, or at least most of us. There are some people who do. Some people who see hell beings, hungry ghosts, gods. But most of us just see animals and human beings. We're not able to see the beings of the other realms. So that's one understanding of the realms, that you're born into a particular realm, and you and I are born into the human realm. The second way to understand the realms is that each of us, you and I, have a particular psychology, a mentality that endures for a long time, maybe a whole lifetime, or maybe not, maybe part of a lifetime. And we can be born in a human body, but have the mentality of a god. And perhaps you've met people like this, who are just immensely happy, can't understand really other people's suffering, and are absorbed in pleasure of one kind or another. Or perhaps you've met people who are human beings, who have the mentality of a hell being. For many years, I've lived in New York, and now I'm in Colorado again. And I met hell beings on the streets of New York, in the subways, occasionally, not commonly, but they were there. People who were really freaked out, in great pain, and living in a world very different from the one I and others lived in. I remember seeing people on the subway once in a while who were totally out of it, living in a world of torment. Or somebody walking down the street screaming This was especially the case more in the 1970s, before they cleaned up Manhattan. But even then, even in the 1990s and 2000s, occasionally you'd see somebody really out of his or her mind on the streets of Manhattan, living in a very different psychological state than you or I. So you can be born in a human body, but have the mentality of any of the other realms. That's the second way to understand the realms. And those psychologies, those mentalities, last for long periods of time, years, maybe whole lifetimes. The third way to understand the realms is that in the course of a day, you can move in and out of the different realms. So somebody comes up to you and says something nasty, insulting, or you encounter an insulting and degrading situation, and suddenly you're plunged into anger, sorrow, just for a period of time. Might be a minute, an hour, half a day, who knows what. But we've all experienced that. Or you might have somebody come up to you and say something wonderful, complimentary, loving, appreciative. And suddenly you're in the God realm, the realm of pleasure, for however long that may be. So these are the three ways in which we experience the realm. The one we're born into, the ongoing psychology that we have. Most of us are probably have an ongoing psychology of being a human being, but not all. And then the momentary experience of a realm. You can meet somebody who you feel has what you want and that you don't have. And for that period of time, you're in the hungry ghost realm, wishing that you had what they had. I used to be a life coach for many years. Haven't practiced it lately. But I had clients who came to me from Wall Street. I was living in New York. And I met so many jealous gods. These were people who were trading. Perhaps they had clients whose money they were managing, as well as their own. And they saw the people who had made millions and millions and billions. Those were the gods. And they were jealous. They wanted to be in the God realm. They wanted to have those millions and billions. And so they were warriors. This is what the jealous gods are. They're storming the gates of heaven. They're almost gods. In fact, these in the Wheel of Life, the God realm, there's a wonderful tree that grows outside the God realm. It grows in the realm of the jealous gods, but its branches hang over into the God realm and drop their fruit there. And this really makes the jealous gods angry because they want that fruit. And that's what these Wall Street traders are like. They're looking at these successful Wall Street traders who have amassed great wealth, and they want it. And most of them are committing acts of unscrupulous behavior, often illegal crime, getting away with it. But we find this kind of behavior and kind of mentality in many different venues. The jealous God, the person who wants to be the God and is willing to do almost anything to get it. And then there are the gods themselves who are just blissed out, happy, confident, going along for long periods of time in happiness. So these are the three ways of understanding these gods of the Kamadhatu. Remember, this is mostly what we're dealing with. We're not going to be dealing very much with the other two dhatus, the realm of the gods of pure form, of which there are 17 levels, by the way, or the gods of formlessness, of which there are 4 main levels. Those are purely mental trance states. We're going to be dealing with what we know, which is the Kamadhatu, the realm of desire, the third realm. And I wanted to give you this because oftentimes it talks about the 3 worlds, the 3 worlds of confusion. And that's what this is referring to. The realm of formlessness, the realm of pure form, and then the realm of desire, which includes the 6 realms. Now, I'm going to be going through this in a slightly disorganized way. So bear with me, I hope. This is going to be the most difficult night because it's dealing with the lower realms, which are so unattractive. So after death, I encourage you to think about this. We're all of us, facing a great mystery, the mystery of death. We really don't know how to anticipate it. We've heard things about it. I keep repeating this story. I was with my father the night that he died, the morning actually, except that at the actual instant that he died, I was brushing my teeth. And just before he died, he said his last words, "I never thought it would be like this." We can't really imagine what death is like. We've heard about it all our lives. We believe in it intellectually, perhaps, I hope. But to feel it in our bones, that's very different. To imagine what it's really going to be like, we can't. So these teachings are trying to give us that idea so that we practice. Because here's the bottom line. Death can be very terrible, full of suffering. And the only, according to the Buddhist teachings, only protection against death is the teachings, the Buddhist teachings, which primarily have to do with coming present, being awake now, in the present moment, and everything that constellates around that. And there's a lot. So, it says that at death we don't vanish into nothing, but we're forced to take a new birth in samsara, meaning somewhere in these 3 worlds that I just described. And samsara is not a great place. It has 3 main sufferings. The suffering of not getting what you want, not getting it. You want it, but you don't get it. The suffering of getting what you don't want. And finally, the suffering of just pure suffering. And in this, you will suffer old age. Here it is now. I'm 79 and this body is falling apart. Sickness and death and rebirth with suffering in the bardo. The bardo is the intermediate state between death and rebirth. There are actually 3 death bardos. Bardo literally means interval. The word in Tibetan means from to, bardo. So there's the bardo of this class. But there are 6 main bardos in life. There's the bardo of life itself, and within that there are 2 sub-bardos, which is the bardo of dream, which we encounter every night, and the, what's that? Dream? Somebody help me. I can't think of what the other bardo is. It'll come to me. Sorry. It's a sub-bardo. And then there are the three death bardos. The first is yes, thank you, Shinyi, the bardo of meditation, the periods of meditation. These are the three bardos of life. And then the death bardos consist of the painful bardo of dying, which describes the falling away of the body, turning off of the body, and then the turning off of mind. And then there is the bardo of reality, which most people don't see because they haven't practiced enough. They haven't trained. But it goes by in a finger snap like that. And in that bardo, if you have trained, you can see this world as it really is, not as we hope or fear it to be. And it's full of deities, so-called, peaceful and wrathful. Buddhas and wrathful deities which wake us up. And then finally, there's the bardo of becoming, which is the famous 49-day period. Suppose 49 days figurative, but maybe, for you it might be 49, who knows, in which during the first half of this interval, we see ourselves with the body we had in our past lives. Sometimes they say it's the body of a 7-year-old child that we had in our past life. And in the second half of this 49-day period, we see ourselves in the body we're going to have. And sometimes they say it's the body of a 7-year-old child we will be. So these are the main bardos, the main intervals of our lives. So when you recover from your death in the bardo, the 49-day bardo, at first you won't realize that you're dead. But all your loved ones won't see or hear you, and you will have no shadow or footprints in the sand or reflection in water. But you may not know that you're dead, so you may see your loved ones and feel very frustrated that you can't communicate with them. You call their names, you say, "Hi, here I am," and they don't see you because you're dead, but you don't know it yet. So it can be very frightening. And they say you hear terrifying sounds and you see dreadful sights. Actually, the sights that you see are these three colors: red, white, and dark. And this happens because your mind is actually dying. And these are the three stages of the death of the mind. You see the world through this veil. And at that time, those with pure karma, that means good, if you've been a good person in your life and perhaps practiced, you'll be welcomed by enlightened spirits, dakas and dakinis. And with good luck, if you've trained enough, if you've meditated enough, you can go straight to liberation. But those who have committed any crimes of the intermediate retribution, that means the bardo, will be taken straight down to unpleasant states, to hell, by the Lord of Death's henchmen. And there you will suffer. Now these are mental states. And they're brought on by acts of cruelty, especially hatred and anger, plunge us into states of suffering, according to these teachings. If you're to be reborn as an animal, it says you will feel as if you have horns sprouting from your head and are moving on all fours. I have no idea. And if you're to be reborn as a human or a god, you'll feel yourself walking around with your head held up, and you'll see your body as sunlight or moonlight, it says in these teachings. So it's in the bardo that the sufferings you're to experience in your next life will begin. Then come the instructions here on this spiritual path to be taken, which include the benefits of liberation, how to follow a spiritual friend. We need a spiritual friend. This is the spiritual friend, this path, the actual path from taking refuge up to Guru Yoga. Guru Yoga is uniting one's mind with the enlightened mind of the Buddha, who is the Guru. And finally, instructions are given on the cessation of suffering, the main practice of Dzogchen, the great perfection, which includes two phases, two practices really. One is called cutting through, trekchit. What is one cutting through? You're cutting through confusion. And what are you cutting through to? You're cutting through to this world as being originally perfectly pure. Confusion masks that, obscures that. And so the practice is cutting through. And this practice is the practice of awareness. We practice it every day in meditation here. And we are cutting through our confusion every time we come back to awareness, cutting through to original purity. When it's done perfectly, it's not even done. It's just recognizing. Because original purity, this perfection, is always here. It's what we fundamentally are. It's our Buddha nature. It's the true nature of reality. We've just gotten lost in confusion, in samsaric confusion, in self-doubt, and all of its complications. So every time we come back to this simple, pure awareness that's already here, letting go of any effort, that is the cutting through. And then the second practice of the great perfection is called Tugel. The first practice, Dzogchen, Trekchit, cutting through, is effortless. You just do it, here you are. In fact, any effort only obscures Trekchit. Because you're thinking, oh, I have to do something. I have to do something. I have to make it right. And that obscures it because it's already here. We just come back to it, acknowledge it. The second practice is called Tugel, which is translated variously, leaping over sometimes, spontaneous presence. And what it is seeing this world as it truly is, the peaceful and wrathful deities. And it takes great effort. So it's for practitioners who want to work hard. And it's also the path to enlightenment and the path of Dzogchen, the great perfection. So here are the defects of samsara in general. I'm going to go just mention them. Samsara is the place where beings circle. Beings, us, circle through the different realms. That's what samsara means. And the time that we circle there, which can be endless or seemingly endless, is never really literally endless, but it can be very, very long. The manner in which we circle there, and that depends on the realms that we are in. The cause that makes us circle there, which is confusion, belief in a self, belief in the existence of I and other, which don't have any real existence at all. And we meditate on these alternating, and by contemplating these teachings, and then by resting in meditation. It says people who follow the way of samsara, of confusion, of this circle, put happiness first, and they end up with suffering. whereas those who adopt the Dharma start out with hardship. That's the work of the Dharma, and they end up with happiness. And then he roughly describes the realms. The hell realms are, I think I'll switch now. This was all from a book, A Guide to the Words of My Perfect Teacher by Khenpo Ngawang Pelzang. So the cause that gives birth in the hell realms is a major accumulation of any of the 10 negative actions motivated by the 3 poisons. As long as one believes I exist and other, then there are the 3 poisons. 3 poisons are if you something you see as desirable, you want to pull it to you, that's desire. If you see it as inimical, harmful to your existence, you want to push it away from you. And if you see it as indifferent, that's indifference, stupidity. Those are the 3 poisons: pulling closer, pushing away, and remaining the same distance. And then these are the basis for the 10 negative actions. The first is taking life, far the worst. The second is taking what is not given. These are the actions, the 3 actions of the body. The third is sexual misconduct, whatever that means. Could be rape, anything. The 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th, those 4, are the misconduct of speech, lying, sowing discord among people, harsh words, and worthless chatter. And then the last 3 of these 10 negative actions are the negative actions of mind: being covetous, wishing for what you don't have, wishing harm on others, and having wrong views. Wrong views are that I should be king of the world. That's a wrong view. There are lots of them. So we promise that we'll never again commit such actions. That's the path, out of hatred, no matter what. And we recognize that all beings born in the hells and all the realms have been our mother, and that we wish to repay their kindness by praying to the 3 jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, for them, and vowing that it is I who will free them. And I'm going to read a prayer that is a lovely contemplation. Basically, we're being enjoined. I think I'm not going to read this, but there are some poems that are really wonderful at the end of the Guide to the Words of My Perfect Teacher. And they're enjoining us to be compassionate for the beings around us, that this is the way to our own benefit, to feel gratitude for and compassion towards the beings who surround us and who are part of our lives, that this will be a benefit to them and even more of benefit to us. So we now have a life endowed with the freedoms and the advantages. We are alive, we can do things, but soon we'll fall to impermanence and die, and we'll be forced to take a new birth in samsara. It's really amazing. I have a good friend, Reginald Ray. He's a teacher. He was one of Trungpa Rinpoche's close students. I remember years ago having lunch with him at a restaurant here in Boulder and telling him, this was many years ago when I was in my 30s, telling him that I knew intellectually that I was going to die, but I couldn't really feel it in my bones. And I wished I could, because I would live my life with more immediacy. Stop wasting my time with transient pleasures, but that I couldn't really feel it. Well, I'm 79 now, and I'm starting to really feel it. I've got all these people dying around me. Oh, so many. When I met Trungpa Rinpoche, there were 5 of us who were very close to him. Of them, I'm the only one left. They've all passed. Fran Lewis, Tanya Leontoff, Marvin Casper, and Richard Arthur. We were all running the centers. Tail of the Tiger in the east, now called Karma Chilling, was run by Richard Arthur and Tanya Leontoff and Fran Lewis, and Marvin Casper and I ran the center out here. All of them are gone. I'm the only one left. I should feel frightened even saying that. I don't want to push my luck. And then so many others. So we have this life, but it's going to be gone in a little while. So we've been going round and around like this, the teachings say, since beginningless time in these realms, in which every being, without exception, has had relations of affection, enmity, and indifference. Those are the 3 poisons again, with every other being. Everyone has been everyone else's father and mother, endlessly. These are what the teachings teach us. I mean, think about it. We're faced with this enormous mystery. And yet in our arrogance, we say, oh, I don't believe that, or I do believe this. Nagarjuna says, Nagarjuna, the great, one of the, often called the second Buddha, lived in the 2nd century AD in India, founder of the Madhyamaka school of philosophy, and you could call it a school. It was the Madhyamaka thought, middle way. He says, we would run out of earth trying to count our mothers with balls of clay the size of juniper berries. And he also says, there is not a single form of life that we have not taken throughout beginningless samsara until now. If we were to try to pile up in one place all the limbs, legs, arms, we have lost when we were ants and other small insects, the pile would be higher than Mount Meru. Mount Meru is the mythical center of the world. It's very high. The tears we have wept from cold, hunger, and thirst when we were without food and clothing, had they not all dried up, would make an ocean larger than all the great oceans surrounding the world. Yet all beings bound to samsara by their desire and attachments, with never an instant's remorse, will have to undergo still more sufferings in this endless circle. And we're being enjoined to wake up. And the only way to wake up is through the practice of the Dharma, the meditation, the contemplations, and the acts of kindness to the world around us. He says, so do not put your trust in the apparent joys of samsara. Resolve that in this very life you will free yourself from the great ocean of its sufferings and attain true and constant happiness of perfect Buddhahood. Make this thought your practice, using the proper methods for the beginning, the main part, and the conclusion. And this we do every day. The proper methods for the beginning, the main part, and the conclusion. The beginning is that we wish that all beings could achieve happiness and the root of happiness, be free from suffering and the root of suffering. May they not be separated from the great happiness, devoid of suffering, that's joy. May they dwell in the great equanimity, free from passion, aggression, and prejudice. Those 4 wishes. The middle practice is the practice of meditation, formlessness, coming present, being awake, giving up any kind of hope and fear, just becoming completely awake. And the third practice is to dedicate the merit for the benefit of all sentient beings, that they all may achieve enlightenment and awaken. Out of great compassion, we open our hearts. It's the only way. So then Patrul Rinpoche describes the hells. There are the 8 hot hells. And mostly what these hells have to do with is great heat, pain, torment, and great duration of time. So there's the reviving hell, the black line hell, the rounding up and crushing hell, the howling hell, and where sufferings by roasting in buildings of red hot metal with no exit. I'm just picking one of them. Where one day is like 1,600,000 human years. I mean, it's just what it's saying is the torment of the hells of unhappiness. Think of that person on the subway. Think of that person walking down the streets of 3rd Avenue in Manhattan screaming to himself. And believe me, I've seen this. And so have you, those of you who lived in these kinds of cities. I mean, I remember going to India in 1982, and on the streets of Delhi every morning, they rounded up the corpses of all the people who had died during the night, homeless, on the streets. So the great howling hell, here being suffer by being roasted in buildings of red hot metal with no exit. They scream and cry, feeling they will never escape. The length of time there is enormous. And doesn't it seem enormous when you're really suffering? It seems like it will never end. So there are all these hells, the descriptions of the hells, which are meant to remind us of what we can endure if we don't practice. So he says, absorb all these descriptions, withdraw to a quiet place and close your eyes. Sorry, I'm getting a strange signal. Imagine that you are really living there. When you feel terror and pain, as if you were there, contemplate that you feel this terror and pain, even though you are not actually there. Your imagination can be very powerful. Contemplate that there are countless beings living there now who have been your parents in past lives. Strange thought for us, huh? That there are countless beings who have been our parents in past lives. No telling if my loved ones will be reborn there, as rebirth there is caused by hatred, which I myself have accumulated in this life and past lives. So I can be certain that I myself will be reborn in these hells sooner or later. At present, I have a human life, complete with all the freedoms and advantages. I have met with an authentic spiritual teacher, or think of tradition, our lineage, and received the profound instructions which offer the possibilities of attaining the level of the Buddha. So I must do my best to practice the methods that will save me from ever having to be reborn in those lower realms again. And we're supposed to reflect on this over and over. And there are the 8 cold hells, the hell of bursting blisters, the hell of clenched teeth. Terrific. The hell of blisters, hell of lamentations, the hell of groans, the hell of the great cracks, the skin turns blue and splits. and worms penetrate the flesh. These are just terrible sufferings. There are the ephemeral hells where one is crushed between rocks, trapped inside stone, frozen in ice, cooked in boiling water, and so forth. And altogether there are 18 hell realms, 8 hot, 8 cold, the neighboring hells and the ephemeral hells. And then there are the Preta realms. They suffer from external obscurations. There are 2 types, those who suffer from external obscurations, and these are tormented by hunger and thirst. They search for food and drink without finding any. I remember, I always think of a friend of mine when I was in college. I belonged to a club when I was in college, and this was one of the club members. And whenever he came up to a group of us standing and talking, I always felt that he was hungry, poverty-stricken, feeling less than, a mild version of the Preta realm. The Pretas may see food and drink in the distance, but their joints are so weak and their bellies so large that to travel there is terribly painful and exhausting. And arriving, they find the water and food gone, or guarded by armed men who beat them. And then there are the Pretas, the hungry ghosts who suffer from internal obscurations, and they have mouths no bigger than the eye of a needle, throats as narrow as horse hairs, so they can get no food or drink, and their bellies are huge. The principal causes of rebirth as a Preta are stinginess and opposing the generosity of others. We have committed such acts innumerable times. The Pretas who move through space, all they want to do is give pain to others, so wherever they go, they do harm, causing no good for themselves, and they undergo continual torture. Powerful magicians bury them, burn them. And what you're meant to do is to practice as before, becoming sane, meditating with the methods for the beginning, the 4 immeasurables, the main practice, resting in awareness, and the conclusion where we give the merit to all sentient beings with great love and devotion. And finally, tonight, the animal realm. And there are those living in the depths in the water, fish, turtles, reptiles, worms, shellfish, all undergo immense suffering. The big eat the little ones, and they're stupid and ignorant, and they're reborn in places of immense suffering. And then there are the animals that live in scattered places, in the God and human realms, and suffer continuously from their stupidity and from being exploited, hunted, killed, used. He mentions the Nagas. I'll just explain what that is. The Nagas are serpents, serpent deities who live in low places, watery places, and sometimes even in the ocean, deep in the ocean. And they're hunted by the Garudas. This is all in the myth. The Garudas are birds which eat the Nagas. That's what they live on. They are born in air, flying, and they never land, the Garudas. And they eat the Nagas. There are wild animals in our human world who live in a constant state of fear. And I see them around this house. I live up in the mountains. I see bears. We see mountain lions. They're beautiful, but they're frightened. They only come around when they think it's safe. Foxes scamper across the lawn. They're all frightened. They live in constant fear of their natural enemies and of us, human beings, who hunt them. The foxes, Domesticated animals are slaughtered. They're dumb. They don't even know it's coming. Sheep, cattle, slaughtered for their skins, their flesh. They live as slaves, and they're destined for the butcher. If you have animals of your own, he says, treat them with kindness and love, since all animals, right down to the smallest insect, have feelings of pleasure and pain. And since they have all been our fathers and mothers, oh God, is that true? Develop love and compassion towards them, combining your practice with the methods for the beginning, main part, and conclusion again. No matter what these three lower realms beings may be, no matter where these three lower realm beings may be reborn, hell beings, hungry ghosts, and animals, they experience all manner of intense and long-lasting suffering. And just think of the animals. Chickens, pigs, domesticated animals, slaughtered for us. Beings born there are in the animal realm are stupid, ignorant, and without any idea of Dharma, and they can only create further causes for yet more lives in the lower realms. So once reborn there, it is difficult to get out. In this present life of ours, human realm, and in other past lives, we have accumulated numerous actions that are certain to lead us to rebirth in those states. We've committed acts of cruelty, of stupidity, of meanness, of selfishness. So we should apply ourselves with great sincerity to regretting our wrong actions in the past, confessing them, and vowing to avoid them from now on. And I want to make a point. The Buddhist idea of confession is not the Christian or Judeo-Christian. It's not a matter of admitting guilt. This is not about guilt. Often when you go to a meditation program, like a Daton, a month-long program, you will have a time when you confess to your meditation teacher. And what the point of that is to bring it conscious. The acts of selfishness, of self-aggrandizement. That's all. Guilt is not part of it. So we're meant to say to ourselves, pray that all these beings in the three lower realms especially may be liberated, and say, now that I have met with the Dharma of the great vehicle, that's the Mahayana, and have the chance to practice the path that brings true benefits, both to myself and to others, I shall practice that Dharma with courage, scorning all difficulties, and lead all those beings of the three lower realms to Buddha fields. Having cultivated bodhicitta with that thought, pray to your teacher and the deities, asking for their help and support, and thinking, may my teacher and the three jewels bless me, that I may achieve this aim. Dedicate the merit to the benefit of beings, thus practicing the three supreme methods. Finally, Patrul Rinpoche says, although rebirth in the three lower realms naturally entails suffering, one might expect that the three higher realms would be happy and pleasant. But in fact, even in the higher realms, there is no true happiness. So we can have a discussion. Oops, hold on a second. Let me get this screen, remove the spotlight. There we go. Okay. So we're getting really into the deep end here, I think. The idea of total commitment to the Dharma. I leave it to you to have a discussion. Steve.
Um, I did want to make the joke. Thank you for taking us through hell, John. Um, but
So
I
welcome.
yeah, I wanted to ask a question. You had mentioned like the Buddhist wheel of life with the six realms and like in the mouth of Mara, I think is the iconography. Are the pure? You had also mentioned like the pure realms are they symbolized in any way in that picture, or is that a separate, totally separate?
No, they're not in that picture. The wheel of life you're talking about, I think.
Yes.
Right.
Hmm.
No, in the wheel of life, I think they're only the six realms. I'd have to take a good look at it. That's a good
Okay.
interesting question. It might be there in some of them, but it's difficult to. I would think it would be difficult to express them iconographically, because they're mental states.
Hmm. I know they're very abstract. I was just curious if they're somehow symbolized some in some way.
I'd have to look at
Yeah.
a wheel of life, and I haven't. I don't want to go off and do that right this second.
Okay. No, no, no problem. No problem.
Okay. Well, that's a good question. We can bring it up next week. But definitely, when they talk about samsara, they're talking about all three of those realms. The, the realm of desire, which includes the six realms, the realm of pure form, and the formless realm. Because all of those are still within the realm of samsara, of confusion. My hope is that all of us are immensely motivated to practice and study, to take this rare opportunity that we have, that we've encountered the Dharma, to practice it. And if I sound like a true believer, I apologize, but I don't want to. True Rinpoche hated that. But I guess, for me, it's at 79, and with all these people dying around me, um, I'm feeling the immediacy of the mystery about to arrive. And while there were people who died before, the first real significant one was when I was 70. And I read in my college class notes, which I get monthly. The only thing I ever read is the obituaries in the class notes. I read that my roommate from my sophomore year had died. I tracked down his girlfriend and I found out, he had never given up smoking. This is a guy, we were college roommates at Yale. He graduated Yale and went to Harvard and took a degree in law. After that, he went back to his hometown. He was a Jew from Columbia, Tennessee. That's almost an impossibility, but it's there. Lenny Bruce said if you're from New York, you're Jewish, even if you're not Jewish. And if you're from Des Moines, you're not Jewish, even if you are. Well, my friend Al Gordon was from Columbia, Tennessee, and he went back there and opened a law practice for about 3 years. And then he shut it down and he traveled to California and he joined a commune there run by a guy named Steve Gaskin. It was called The Family. And then the family moved east. In fact, they came through Boulder. There's a story there too. But they went to Tennessee and they settled there, and Al went with them, my friend Al Gordon. But at some point, for some reason, he was traveling up the coast of Maine. Now, he must have been in his mid to late 20s by this time. And his car broke down on the coast of Maine, and he put it into a garage for repair, and they had to send away for parts. And he had time to kill, so he took a boat over to one of those islands off the coast of Maine. Now he's about 26, 7 at this point. He never left. It was called Isle o Haut. This is what his girlfriend told me. He spent the rest of his life on Isle o Haut fixing boats, lobster fishing, culling out a living as a fisherman and a boat fixer. Grew a beard, had long hair. And then one day he got sick and he went back to the mainland with his girlfriend and went to a doctor, and the doctor told him he had lung cancer and he was going to die. She said his response was, well, it's been a good ride, at the age of 70. That was the first of my immediate close friends. There have been many since then. So it's coming for all of us. It's just that we don't really realize it. And I think it brings home these teachings. The Buddhist teachings are all about taking advantage of what is called this one precious human birth. We say it every morning and every evening. It's precious because why? We have the capacity to practice the Dharma and to awaken. I sound like I'm proselytizing. Forgive me. Shinyi.
Hi. I actually really enjoyed this description for some reason. It's
Description
just
of
kind
what? Of what?
the lower realms.
Oh, yeah.
Not that I enjoy thinking of me being there, but it's just kind of sobering. But what I want to contribute is that I forget where I read this. But supposedly Patrul Rinpoche can recall 500 of his past lives. So we are supposed to take his description of the lower realm seriously now that he remembers. And I think this was when he was talking with someone when he was in a retreat or something. And Patrul Rinpoche said that he never again was born in a lower realm. After in one life, he was a prostitute and he offered a gold bracelet to a Mahasiddha. So I just add that detail there.
He's a piece of work, that guy, Patrul Rinpoche. He's really something. What a life. And there's a wonderful book, I keep telling people this. I can't remember the name of the author. It's called Enlightened Vagabond. And it's by a very famous Buddhist author. He's a Frenchman who was a scientist and then became a monk, a Buddhist monk, and became very fluent in Tibetan and translated for the Dalai Lama a lot. And he's written many books. And this one, Enlightened Vagabond, is all the stories about Patrul Rinpoche, and they are a hoot. You will enjoy reading it. I recommend it. Mathieu Ricard, that's it. Thank you, Valerie. Mathieu Ricard, Matthhieu, Ricard, R-I-C-A-R-D, Enlightened Vagabond. I loved it. It's kind of a page turner. Vicky.
Yes, thank you. Jinyi, what you just said made me wonder something. All this wonderful detail of information about the realms and about past lives. I often just wonder, how is this known? Does it come from people like the person Jinyi mentioned, who actually recalls being, in different realms and what they are? I mean, how is it known? Yeah. How is this ever identified and then organized like this? It's you know, some of the stories are so outlandish to me. They just seem mythical or made up, but the nitty gritty of it is it, and it's been written down and it's been passed on from teachers to students. I mean, how is it known we've been a mother billions of times? I can certainly appreciate the multitude of life. I mean, anywhere from a virus to you know, a coral reef. But is that an answerable question? How do we know?
I can only tell you what the teachings say, which is that the number of beings that have populated this universe, this cosmos, are uncountable. Billions upon billions. Think of this. Right now, the population, the human population of this
Right,
earth.
but how's that known? Unremembered.
There are people who supposedly remember it. Who remember all their past lives, or a lot of them.
That would make sense to me. I certainly haven't met many, but you hear about it randomly, you know. But to remember that many so that you could put together a picture like this.
There are so many possibilities. For instance, I don't know if you've ever heard of Delogs. You might spell it in English D-E-L-O-G, Delog. Delogs are people who have the ability to die and come back. And they die and go into the death state and meet people who are dead. And then they come back and report. There are books about Delogs who recount their experiences. So there are lots and lots of possibilities. And also great teachers. Great teachers, they say, travel through the realms, helping sentient beings there. This is what we're told. But the number of beings is so astronomical when you think of the fact that there are 8 billion human beings on the planet. How many sentient beings are there when you count animals, insects, fish, all of it on this planet? It's beyond comprehension.
And doesn't this include other universes and other planets and other, I mean, it's so much bigger than the Earth.
It does. And there are all kinds of descriptions. I can't remember if it's in this book or in others, of the evolution of the cosmos and how we are just in one of billions of such evolutions, of kalpas. These are huge periods of time that go on and dissolve. Judy, did you have your hand up?
Yeah. Yes. Am I?
You're unmuted.
Oh. Unmuted?
You're good now. I can hear you.
Ah, good. Gee, I was so glad to hear what Shinyi had to say about Patrol having travel, because you really do. It does sound, as Vicky was saying, mythical and made up. Kind of like Boogeyman, you know, to frighten you into where you really ought to go. But that was so Patrol actually could travel through the realms, and that's where these descriptions come from him and from others. That was really enlightening.
Yeah, and there's stories about great teachers who do that as well.
Mm, wow, fascinating.
Yeah.
So they
Uh,
come back and report.
So I just want to jump in and say what I typed in the comments. I think some of these descriptions are from the sutras as well. So supposedly the sutras are words of the Buddha, and the Buddha does taught quite a lot on the six realms and have descriptions. I haven't looked up myself, but I'm pretty sure that was taught as well
Oh,
in
yeah.
the sutras. Yeah. So it's not completely made up by Patrul Rinpoche. I think he's following like a tradition of teachings, and that's what he was taught by his guru. And the teachings have its source in the sutras, sastras, how it's pronounced. Anyways, like it goes all the way back to the.
Wow,
Thank you. Indeed, it does.
fascinating.
And in fact, there are references in these two books, The Words of My Perfect Teacher and the Guide to the Words of My Perfect Teacher, to sutras, which are Buddha word, many of which describe all of this, the
Mm,
realms and the infinite numbers of beings. So it's not just Patrul Rinpoche making it up. And I think most of all, if we just contemplate the mystery of our own lives and deaths, and the deaths of the people that we know and love and or hate, and whom we know, can wake us up from the sleep of complacency and of thinking that we
You
actually
wonder what you might have done in previous lives that entitled you to a human birth, you know?
yeah.
I mean, if you were a dog, were you a good dog? Where, I mean, what can, constitutes being good dog? Um, or good cow, or, you know?
Well, all the teachings tell us that this birth, this human birth, is the best place to be born, because it's the only one from which we can practice the Dharma, the Buddhist teachings,
Yeah,
meditation, study.
but
None of the
but
other
what did we do to deserve this? What,
acts of kindness, merit,
as a
generosity.
dog, as a frog, as a
Yeah, I guess you can do it as a frog.
catch flies for other frogs? One wonders.
They say it's very hard to be born a human being from the lower realms, but it happens eventually. I
But
mean,
if not from
the
there,
whole idea of time, I mean, wasn't it just a second ago that you were 15 or 10? The Dzogchen teachings, the highest teachings, say time is a myth. It's just an idea. That the only thing that actually exists is this, now. The past and the future are just imagined, mental creations. And they are. When you think about the past, you think about some little teeny part of it. And the whole realm of what happened in that moment, 90% of it or more is gone. It's just not even in your head. You focus on what constituted the story for you that has to do with what is now. And so these teachings, the Dzogchen teachings, the highest teachings, say time doesn't exist. It's just a concept.
I believe that.
Einstein said that too.
Who?
Einstein.
He said that.
It's hard for physicists to explain exactly what time is.
We're almost there well, we can have more discussion on this tomorrow. But, you know, I knew that this chapter was going to be the hardest. It comes across as sort of dogma. And yet at the same time, what it reveals is the enormous mystery of our lives that we spend so much time ignoring, absorbing ourselves in quotidian pursuits. Anybody else? Before I put up the closing chants?
I heard I've heard this a few times from various people, I think, talking from a perspective, may have been Dharma, but also from near-death experience reports, that the idea that there's this time doesn't really exist, that what you were alluding to, and they say that when they're in this different realm, that's how things are. So they say that it's a manner of speech that there are so-called past lives because these lives are all occurring at the same time. And further, which is interesting to me, what we're doing in our current manifestation somehow has a ripple effect or impact on these other lives that are somehow part of us, going wherever they are in whatever realm, happening simultaneously. Anyway, I don't know if that's true or not, but somehow that gives me some hope. Like, you know, if I'm kind, if I'm present, if I'm in the moment, hopefully that ripple effect, that maybe selfishly, has an impact on these other manifestations that, you know, I've been through in the past, but actually are happening simultaneously.
Mhm.
And if you're kind and present in the moment, that in itself might be its own reward.
Yeah.
The good life. Okay, everybody, here we go. We're going to do the closing chants. Don, are you leading us?
Yes.
Good. I'll put them up on screen and we'll mute all. I'm going to mute everybody, so Don, unmute yourself.
By the blessings of enlightened and compassionate ones, by the power of my positive actions of 3 times and my prayers of pure aspiration, may wars, conflicts, epidemics, and all other maladies dissolve in this world, and may the earth and all who live on this earth enjoy the abundance of well-being. May all learn to live lovingly with each other. By this merit, may all obtain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy, wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. By the confidence of the golden sun of the great East, may the lotus garden of the Rigdon's wisdom bloom. May the dark ignorance of sentient beings be dispelled. May all beings enjoy profound, brilliant glory.
Thank you, Don. And I just want to mention, in case anyone's wondering, Michael and Sue are on vacation in Europe, and he will be missing the next few weeks. Okay, everybody.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Don.
Thank you.
Good night,
Everybody.
Sean.
Take care.
Thank you,
night.
Joe.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Bye.